Hello brick sculptors and welcome back to Brick Sculpt. This is Chris and today I want to talk to you about MILS plates. Now, to be completely honest with you, I am totally new to MILS plates, but I've watched a lot of stuff, I've seen a lot of good references, and I think I've got a pretty good grasp on MILS plates. Now with that being said, I'm looking for your feedback. I'm going to show you kind of the basics of MILS plates here. I'm going to show you some stuff I've been playing around with and I think I've done a pretty good job. And I want to know from you guys what I'm doing wrong or what I could do better. So please let me know below in the comments, and I'd love to get you guys' feedback. So MILS stands for Modular Integrated Landscaping System. And the point of it is to take a standard base plate and give it a few more features. The standard base plate is pretty basic. It's got a lot of flexibility to it, and it doesn't work really well for building large mocks, especially when you want things that are movable. Now, the most common way to build a MILS plate that I've seen is like this, where you have this grid of 2x2 bricks and Technic pieces on the corners for attaching to other MILS plates, and then you lay plate over the top. Now, this is not the only way to build them. In fact, there's a great video out there by BuilderTim, I'll link it in the description, that talks about the most cost-effective ways to build these MILS plates. But this is kind of the more traditional one that you see using this grid here. After you lay out this grid, you'd cover it in plate. And this one's covered in 4x4 plates in green, so it looks like grass. And this makes for a very nice, sturdy building foundation. It has no bend or twist to it. It can be linked to other plates. I know the 4-long are probably more rigid, but I didn't have a whole lot of them. So this is your basic MILS plate here, and it allows for rigidity. It also gives you a hollow center, so if you're running electrical wires for lighting, you can put those down underneath the plates. You can access everything underneath here, and it gives you some room for negative building, meaning if you need to go below the surface, you can't do that with a standard base plate, but with a MILS plate, you can go down below the surface just a little bit if you need to. You can also build these taller if you need to go even deeper. Now, one problem I have in converting my whole city from standard plates to MILS plates is a lot of my city is built on these. I have a ton of these classic road plates, and you don't have a lot of studs. You have studs on the outside, but nothing in the middle. Half of this plate is covered in no studs. Now, there are some workarounds for this. You're probably going to end up using a few more pieces, but doing something like this, you can span across that road, and some of these are just floating until they get locked in by the top. But you can cover this whole thing, and if you see this side here, it is still really rigid. So that's definitely a good solution to use up these base plates so you don't have to go buy new ones if you have a lot of road plates or just plates with anything on them that's smooth in general. My initial thought was I'd want to replace my standard road plates with the newer road system. Now, one of my viewers also pointed out there's a piece, part number 18601. I'll put a picture of it here. This piece is a very good solution for this problem. I haven't purchased these yet. I have some in a cart ready to go. I just got to click buy and I'll have them on the way. The reason this piece is great, yeah, it's kind of a funky piece. You guys probably don't own this. Maybe some of you do. I certainly don't. But the cool thing is it will span across the width of the road, and it's a nice big piece of plate, but the best part is they're like 10 cents. They're everywhere on Bricklink and Brick Owl, and you can get them pretty cheap, and that's a great solution for spanning this without spending a ton of money on plates. So I'm definitely going to invest in some of those. I'm just waiting for to get the right cart together to order them up, and we'll probably do a follow-up video on that showing how those work out in the MILS system. Now, I recently have been purchasing the newer road plates, and my thought was, okay, I need to integrate this into the MILS system. Easy way to do that is to put these guys on the bottom here and stick it down. And I was thinking it'd be really great if I could lay this right over the existing road. And you can. You can use the outer studs here to build your MILS grid. You can build this just like you see here and put it right down the middle of the road. I think that works pretty good. It makes for a nice rigid connection. There's not a lot of movement there. And you can come by later and basically complete it fully integrating it into the MILS system by adding some 1x2 plates on top and then adding our plates over the top of that. And you have a nicely integrated road. Then my thought was, okay, this works great. I think that would work just fine, especially because I'm not really going to be moving this stuff around a lot. I don't take the stuff to conventions or anything. It's just going to sit in my basement. But I thought maybe there's a better way. So I thought, what if I turn the road so it goes opposite of the road? It'll have more connection points. So I built the bottom of this a little bit differently to make it a little bit more rigid, and I made sure to have these hang over on the edges so I have something to connect to over the road. And I just figured I'd lay this right down the center. This way it has more connection with the base, and then they'll have to fill in these still, but I think this might be more rigid than the previous method. Not that the previous method's bad. If you guys have experience doing either of these, let me know below in the comments because I'd love to see what worked better for you. Like I said, I'm new to this stuff, so I'm learning as I go here. Now with this system, you can also pretty easily add a side street, just like that. Or you can build out a little platform. I would highly recommend leaving parts hang over to grab onto the studs here, but if you have this little ledge and you can grab these studs, you can fill this in pretty effectively and then just build right over the top of that. So I really like this system too. I'm not sure which one I like more, but definitely something to think about. Now when I do a completed road, there's a few different things I can do here. One of the biggest complaints about the old road plates is that they're not wide enough for some of the more modern vehicles, especially if you're doing like Speed Champions and stuff. Now to me, Speed Champions are too large for my city, so I'm not going to be using those in my city. But I do have some larger trucks that are 6 wide that just barely fit in the standard lane. So you can easily expand this and make these wider. I know Bevins Bricks did a great video on expanding these newer road plates. I'll put a link to that in the description as well. And these really can be nice and wide. So this will fit a larger vehicle very easily. You can see on the side here I've got my sidewalk, which is 4 wide, and then grass 4 wide. Over here I've got my sidewalk and then only 2 wide. This is 2 bricks wider, and I just used kind of a snot technique here to stick these in on the edge. And I gave a nice little white line, little added detail. So I really like how that came out. I think in more like suburban areas or neighborhood areas, I might use the narrow road, but in a more downtown congested area, this might work a little bit better. So let me know what you think. I think this turned out pretty well. And the nice thing too about this MILS system is you're really using the negative space here because this sits lower and gives you a curb to the sidewalk, which is pretty cool. A lot nicer than the classic older road plates. A couple other ways you can use negative space is you can slope downward. So here I made a dirt road, maybe I want a country road, and you can slope all the way down basically to the base plate if you want. You can make culverts, you can make drainage ditches, things like that, or just elevation, and you can also slope upward to the next one. So you can really play with this and have a lot more detail than your standard plate will have. Another cool example of using negative space is water features. And after I built this, I just realized this is very similar to the base I made for my October Challenge mock. But basically you can carve out that middle and then kind of build up some banks and stuff. And you can have that indent in the base plate to put water, which is really cool. You can't do that on a standard system. Now you are still going to have flexibility to this unless you build the whole thing up even more. But overall, this way it's not going to be really flexible. You can still make a nice rigid piece with this. I think that turned out pretty nice. Well, let me know what you think of these techniques. If you have any great suggestions for me, please leave them below in the comments. I love to hear you guys' feedback. That's how I learn from this. And I think I learn just as much as you guys do making these videos. That's all I got for this time. If you guys like this video, please like and subscribe. I'm going to do more just like this in the future. And we will see you next time.